Joining me now for a reaction to the latest FOMC meeting, we have Danielle DiMartino Booth, CEO and Chief Strategist of QI Research. Danielle, it's good to see you this morning. Let's talk about your initial reaction to the Fed's decision. I think it didn't come as a surprise to anyone, the 25 basis point cut. But what's your take?
Well, the rate cut certainly did not come as a surprise, but I think what took market participants by a big surprise was how adamant he was very early on in the meeting in his formal remarks about taking December off the table. At least that's certainly how markets reacted to how strongly he worded the fact that December is not just live, but also probably not going to happen.
Okay, and there was some dissent in the room, right? Not surprised to hear Myron want a jumbo cut because he'd been pushing for a bigger cut before. And at the same time, on the other side, you have dissent from another policy maker who wanted no move. Do you think that means that come December, yes, Powell was speaking about, December might not be live in general, but there are people on both sides in terms of the policymakers who see it different ways. What's your thought on that and the pressure that brings?
I think moving forward, we haven't had 3 FOMC meetings with dissent since 2019. And I think going forward, the assumption is going to be that there are going to be more dissents going into the very final few months of Powell's term as chair of the Fed. The last meeting that they had in September, we also had the dot plot come out, and Jeffrey Schmidt of the Kansas City Fed, who was dissenting because he didn't want any cuts at all this meeting, he was joined by quite a few others on the committee. So I dare say that there's not just one dissent on each side, but there is very, very vigorous discussion inside that room on both sides of the inflation debate.
Speaking of vigorous discussion, it seems like there's vigorous arguments on both sides about, what should take priority, inflation or the job market. Now, the job market has been weakening, but we are also a little bit, we're without all the information that we typically get. We didn't get the monthly payrolls report. I hope we get the next one come, November. But they're operating with limited data. We did get CPI because the government called some workers back in. And while it was, not as hot as expected, it has a 3 handle now. So how do you feel like the Fed has to, kind of balance its dual mandate?
Well, I think the irony here is that when Powell was first appointed as chair, when he first came in, a lot of people on the street were very heartened by the fact that he was not a PhD in economics, and he did have very close ties to people in industries, to CEOs, to CFOs. You were just mentioning the stock of Estee Lauder, for example. It's got a great big pop here in its stock price, but it's also laying off 7,000 people in that same announcement that came out this morning. That takes us to the second highest level of announced layoffs in the last 2 years. I understand that we don't necessarily have official data to fall back on. But again, if Powell is speaking to individuals from his past life who run great big companies, he knows right now that the labor market is weakening just by tallying up the really large headlines.
Now, Danielle, you have called Powell the most tone-deaf Fed chair in history. What makes you say that?
I think I just laid that out. He's literally not listening to what's happening around him. He's not listening to the plight of so many working American men and women. And on top of that, he knows exactly where inflation's coming from. This is food prices, this is electricity prices that we keep reading about because of data centers being built. But these are not the areas of inflation that Fed policy has any control over. We actually saw that one official print that you mentioned for the consumer price index come in much cooler than what was expected because shelter prices are falling as dramatically as they are. So he just needs to open his ears a little bit more because, yes, I think he's terribly tone deaf right now.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, there is, the conversation about who's next to lead the Fed, and there are 5 names that it's come down to. How much market volatility do you expect to happen around that as we get to, naming a Fed chair before the year end?
Well, so Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said that he hopes to have a decision by around Thanksgiving. There's only 3 more weeks that the Senate will have even to deliberate on the potential for replacing him. So this will carry into the new year, and the different nominees, the 5 names that have been put out there, are so different in their views on monetary policy that this could indeed be a source of volatility for markets going into 2026. Absolutely.
All right, Danielle, we will leave our conversation there for today. That is Danielle DiMartino Booth, CEO and Chief Strategist at QI Research. Thank you, Danielle.